On episode 2 of I Know This Much Is True, we meet some new characters. We find out what happens between Dominic and Dessa. We hear Thomas describe his upbringing, and we see how Dominic feels about Thomas. We're going to talk about that and much more. Tensions rise between Dominic and his live-in girlfriend Joy as the media begins to take interest in Thomas's case. In his attempt to have Thomas released from the Hatch Forensic Institute for the criminally insane, Dominic finds a potential ally in social worker Lisa Schreifer, but learns that helping his brother may be more difficult than he thought. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Elliot here with another review for the latest show on HBO, which is episode 2 of I Know This Much Is True. As I had mentioned last week, that review, the premiere review, was a non-spoiler review, but everything moving forward will be a spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, episode 2, go check it out, come back and let me know what you all thought of it. But before we even dive into this spoiler discussion, as you all can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to this channel, definitely consider subscribing, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, really helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And last but not least, if and when you've seen this episode of I Know This Much Is True, let me know where you guys are at. 2 episodes in, what are you thinking of the show? What were some of your pros and cons of this episode? And what do you hope to see in next week's episode? Let's have some fun discussions in the comments below. So, yeah, this show is really depressing. I'm not going to lie. And it's a very different show for me because as you all know that watch a lot of my content, I watch a lot of Netflix shows. You know, we're dealing with supernatural stuff. I just recently watched on HBO The Outsider. I watch romantic comedies. I watch thrillers. But this is a more serious subject matter in regards to mental health. Some of those shows I just mentioned deal with some mental health issues, but that's not really the focus of the show. But this show really kind of dives deep into what it's like to be a relative of someone that deals with that, what that person goes through, especially during that time, how they're treating Thomas and putting him in a, criminally insane facility versus, someone that just needs more medical attention versus criminal attention. So there's definitely some different dynamics. There's a different change of pace for me, but I'm going to let you guys right now, I'll let you know right now, this show is really kind of sad and kind of down and depressing, but I think it's a show that needs to be had. It's a conversation that needs to be had. Mental health is not a joke, and I love how this show is kind of diving deep into how during that time people were handled that had mental health, but also what it did to the family. So diving into this breakdown recap, right off the bat, again, this show isn't holding any punches, and I feel like the emotional stuff has been authentic and true, and it hasn't been forced and hasn't been like manipulative in my opinion. I think it's just showing you again what Thomas goes through, but also what Dominic went through. So we see at a very young age Dominic and Thomas going on a trip to the Statue of Liberty. We see the scene play out where Thomas gets locked in the bathroom. Dominic feels embarrassed. You got kids making fun of him, which, kids are just terrible. Little kids, especially at that age, they don't know when to stop. They don't know what's appropriate or not. But we see the kids picking on Thomas. The one kid comes up to the teacher and suggests that maybe Thomas doesn't know the difference between his left and his right because he was locked in the bathroom. And then the teacher suggests, hey, why don't you do the opposite way? And obviously we see that play out. But I just feel so bad for Thomas at that moment because, again, kids are so sweet, right? They're nice. They can be, the sweetest people in the world, but they have, some kids have a really mean side. And sometimes kids at that age don't know the difference between right and wrong, and that's a deeper conversation in regards to parenting and how their upbringing is. But we see that play out. We see Thomas is upset. We see that obviously was upsetting for him, but also Dominic, what he was going through at that moment. He was embarrassed, and then we see that they go to the Statue of Liberty. Thomas doesn't want to go on there because he's afraid, and we see that Dominic and Thomas have to stay back with the bus driver, and we're hearing the point of view of Dominic, what he's thinking at that moment, which he feels like he's trapped. He feels like there's no way out of this situation. His brother's going to always be attached to him. And I like how the show is kind of diving into that aspect. I do hope to see more of Thomas's perspective in regards to his treatment, his upbringing, his perspective of situations, but so far 2 episodes in, it's all been a POV of Dominic, played beautifully so far in my opinion by, the great Mark Ruffalo. So as we kind of move on, we meet some new characters, as I had mentioned. We get Imogen Poots, who I'm a big fan of. I did not know she was a part of this show. I must have missed it when I was looking over the cast last week, but Imogen Poots, we find out that she is the girlfriend, Joy, of Dominic, and we kind of see right off the bat that their relationship is definitely on the rocks regarding that, Joy feels like Dominic pays all his attention to Thomas. Now, we all know at this point, especially from last week's episode, that Dominic and Thomas are a package deal. So if you're going to be, with Dominic, you're going to have him, and his brother, be it right or wrong in regards to that's who he has to take care of. That's what he made. That was his mother's dying wish to him, to take care of his brother. So we see Imogen Poots isn't really a big fan of that. She wishes that Dominic paid her more attention. She suggests that maybe Dominic should be interviewed by some famous reporter and this, that, and the other. So we see that their relationship is definitely on the rocks. But again, Imogen Poots, Green Room, the art of self-defense. She's a great actress. I want to hopefully see that we get more from that character, especially after what, the little fight that they had at the end of the episode. But I would like to see her come back into the mix. I think she's a fantastic actress. But either way, we meet that character. We also meet another character right after that, Rosie O'Donnell, Lisa, who is definitely on the side, at least so far. Her and Dr. Patel seem to be on the side of Thomas and Dominic. Obviously Dominic is upset at this point. He's telling, we find out from Lisa's character that, Dominic, there's nothing he can do. Thomas is going to be in this facility for the next 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, they're going to take his case to the board, and the board's going to give him 3 options. Stay in this place for a year, get transferred and be released and go back home, or get transferred to another facility. And obviously Dominic's upset by this news, but I'm liking Rosie O'Donnell. I like her as an actress, right? I think the most recent thing I saw her in was, which I only saw the first season of Smilf, and I've seen her obviously in movies, and I think she's a great actress, and I think her personality and her attributes as an actress really kind of complements this show, and I'm interested to see what her character brings to the show moving forward. But I like their, the back and forth, right? Because Dominic was giving her some fire, but she was taking it right back at him, and, obviously we see that she suggests that he goes to talk to Thomas's new doctor, Dr. Patel, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But again, I'm liking these new additions to the show, and I'm liking the actresses and the actors that they're putting onto the cast so far. So again, we go back to the POV of Dominic, and this is something interesting. I would love to know you guys' thoughts in the comments below. We hear Dominic describe his grandfather again. We've seen that conversation be brought up between him and his mom, and even last week he brought up his grandfather. He obviously wanted to get that book translated before he can give that to his mom, but obviously things didn't play out that way. But as I was rewatching the first episode, the premiere episode, it kind of dawned on me that could it be possible? And let me know what you guys are thinking. Again, for the book readers, don't spoil anything, but just let me know for the non-book readers if you guys are thinking the same thing. Is it possible that their grandfather could be their father? Because, Dominic mentions that their grandfather passed away before they were even born. We obviously know what Juliette Lewis said about if it was her, she wouldn't have any kids around their grandfather. So I'm wondering, and again, they don't know the name of their dad. They don't know who he is, where he is, what's he's about. I'm wondering if you guys are thinking the same thing like I am, that the grandfather could be their father. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But another thing that I would love to know what you guys are thinking. Obviously, leave your comments below about everything you guys are thinking. But in particularly with this next thing here, how are you handling some of the comedy of the show? Again, this is a very heavy show, very serious topic, but then they have characters like Leo, and then we have the scene where he's at the doctor taking pictures of what the cops did to him last week. Is the comedy working for you guys? Again, comedy is very subjective, but to me, it's I don't want to say it's jarring, but it's such a tonal shift from the seriousness of the situation. And of course, life has its ups and downs, funny moments, sad moments, and shows like this try to portray what a day in the life is of these characters. But I'm just wondering, is the comedy stuff like Leo's character, the stuff at the doctor's office, is it a little bit tonally different? And kind of, like I said, I don't want to say jarring, but that's the only word I can think of right now. Is it jarring to you all when you get those comedy beats? Let me know if that works for you all. Just kind of curious about that. But either way, we kind of move forward. This is really a big moment. We learn more about Dominic and Des' relationship. We see that their baby unfortunately passed away. We see how that affected their relationship. They only lasted about a year after the death of their child. And we see how all that played out. And really what this episode is doing, and I really hope that I want to learn more about Thomas's perspective, more about how he thought he was raised and his current situation. But so far with Dominic, man, we're really seeing the pressures and the upsetting stuff that he's gone through. Again, being the brother of Thomas, mother passing away, child passing away, getting a divorce from his wife. I mean, there's a lot of tragic things that Dominic is going through. So it makes sense when he has those episodes in front of Lisa and Dr. Patel when he's just upset. He's just kind of losing it, right? He has this temper and he's having these moments where he's just having these outbursts, but we're seeing kind of what he's going through. So again, this show doesn't hold any punches back, man. Again, we see that his child dies and we see what that does to their relationship. And, we see everything. We see the moment where at the funeral, again, knowing Thomas's mental state and his mental illness, there's a time and a place, but for Thomas, that time and place doesn't apply to him. And he says what he says to his brother in regards to he thinks that his enemies killed his child. I mean, some really messed up stuff, especially when you're at your child's funeral, and we see how that plays out, and we see their relationship again between Dessa and Dominic just kind of fall apart right in front of us. So we see all that play out, but again, we meet, kind of wrapping up this recap, we meet Dr. Patel, who again, it seems like Dr. Patel and Lisa are on the side of Dominic and Thomas. You know, we see all that play out. It's interesting that Dr. Patel is the same actress that's on the show that I'm going to be watching here in a little bit, Run on HBO. And she was a particular character on that show. But either way, and check out my reviews for that. But we see, you know, they have a conversation. We see Dr. Patel plays a recording between her and Thomas, their latest session. And we hear Thomas say some really upsetting things in regards to his upbringing, what his stepdad Ray did to his mom, what Ray did to him, how he kind of didn't really, you know, focus his attention on Dominic, because Dominic, as he even said, that he didn't really push the buttons of Ray. But it was really some interesting stuff that Thomas said. And obviously Dominic said that stuff wasn't true, with the chipping of the tooth and the abuse and everything between his mom and what he did to Thomas. So that obviously was upsetting for Dominic there, but it was something that Dominic said that was really telling, which is he feels like Thomas is a curse. Again, this show is really kind of diving into, which, again, this is why I'm liking the show thus far. It's touching on the lack of seriousness on the topic and how people are handled with mental health, but it also is showing you what mental health, people with mental health, how that affects their loved ones through, you know, as we see many times in this episode. Dominic says for the last 20 years he knows all the drugs they're putting him on. He's talked to the doctors, he's talking to the police officers, all these different people, and it's just it's a volcano of emotions for him right now, right? So I'm really liking this show so far, guys. You know, episode 2 definitely, like I said, shine a light on Dominic, his past, them as kids, you know, his relationship with his ex-wife, his current relationship, or potentially ending relationship after what we saw what happened with Joy. I love Imogen Poots. I hope she makes an appearance again. But you know, we see the current timeline, and we see again what's going on with his psyche and how he feels about his brother being a curse to him. So again, I would like to see the show explore more Thomas's point of view and kind of where he's at. But so far, like I said, 2 episodes in, this has been a really good show. Again, it's not an easy show to watch. It's very depressing, very sad, but it is a topic that needs to be spoken about, and I'm liking that the show is talking about it. So let me know what you all thought about episode 2. If I know this much is true, your pros, your cons. What do you think about my thoughts on the grandfather being their father? What do you want to see moving forward in regards to the situation at hand with Dominic and Thomas and where he's at? And do you want to see more of Thomas's perspective? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So as always, as I had mentioned in my last review earlier today that I did, check that video out, white lines. But as I said in that video, 3,000 subscribers, guys. I can't thank you enough for the continued support, and I can't wait to see where this channel continues to grow and where we take this channel. I can't thank you guys enough. So in 2 weeks, I will be doing a live Q&A, ask me anything type of live stream. So I'll be making a post and all that stuff. So check the community tab. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so you know where that video will be dropped. Keep an eye out for some reviews I got coming this week. I will be on some other live streams. So again, follow me on Instagram and check the community tab so you can see where I'm going to be a guest on. But then make sure you mark your calendars. This Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time, myself and some special guests, I will be doing a watch along for the 40th anniversary of The Shining. So make sure you tune in this Saturday and watch that movie with us. Thank you all for watching this review. I'll be watching HBO Run in a little bit and give you guys my review for that tomorrow morning. Again, thank you for the support, and we'll see you on the next video.